Hi, Amy. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So my name is Michaela. So we're just gonna sit down. I'll be working with you for a little bit. We'll see what it's about. I just want to go over a few things real quick before we start. First of all, do you mind if I just jot some notes down?
That's fine.
Okay. These will be totally in your file, so you can see whatever if you want. Just know that anything you say here can stay here, as long as you're not going to harm yourself or others, or if there's children or elderly individuals experiencing neglect that you mention. Then we'll just talk about some other services and how we can work with that. But either anyway, you can still tell me anything you need. And we're just going to go from there. Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So what brings you in today?
Well, I've been going through a lot lately. I just lost my husband to cancer.
Okay.
And it's been extremely, extremely difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of friends noticed that I seemed really off,
Okay.
and they suggested maybe I should get some therapy.
Okay. Do you know what your friends meant by off?
I've been sleeping a lot,
Okay.
and I haven't gone out at all. I think the last time I was out besides this was the funeral.
Okay. And when you were at the funeral, did you feel supported, or was it just?
Yeah, the whole community has really tried to support me.
That's awesome. Okay. Do you still feel that support?
It's hard. I kind of want to be by myself right now. I'm still processing just being in the house without him being around.
Okay. And is there anyone else in the house with you?
There's not, no.
No. Okay. Do you have friends close by or anything?
Not in my neighborhood, but I do in my town. And they do try to come by and check on me. I'm not very good about letting them stay for very long.
Okay. And do you mind if I ask how long it's been since you've lost your husband?
It's been about a month.
Okay. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. That sounds like it's been a very busy month.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. So, what kind of things have you been feeling? I know that must be a very tumultuous time in your life.
At first, I just was very angry because they told us that his outlook was really good.
Okay.
And so his decline was very quick and unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And we had sort of kept living our lives believing that he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of anger that now he's gone.
Yeah. Completely understandable. When you mean like living your lives, how do you mean?
Well, I don't think we didn't live like he was dying. We
Okay.
didn't do all the things, like when people find out they're dying, you do all of the things, and you go places and you take time off. And he kept working, he didn't take time off. We didn't take time together, and then the end was just there all of a sudden very quickly.
Yeah. And I know you said you feel some anger around that. Is there any other feelings that you're starting to feel now as you process it, or is it still a deep amount of anger?
Well, I'm not angry with Chris. I mean, he was as surprised as I was when he
Yeah,
went
of
downhill
course.
so quickly. I'm still very angry with the medical providers and the people who told us that he was going to be okay. But I mean, it's hard to explain what a loss it is for me because we had made so many plans.
Yeah.
Our marriage was, we'd only been married 3 years.
Okay.
And we had all of these plans for building a family, and all of that is lost now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm starting to feel the loss now over the anger.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought this house to build a family in, and now I have this empty house, and it's very difficult. It's really hard to be in that house, and at the same time, I don't know if I want to sell it because that's where we lived.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So I know that this is something that very few people can ever understand. And unfortunately, I can never fully understand the kind of pain that you're feeling. Have you ever thought, I know it's only been a month, so obviously you still need your time to grieve and to process. Have you ever thought about, we have some groups actually through the agency on grief, on just dealing with grief, and we actually have a specific group for partner loss. And now obviously I'm not going to be like, no, go to this meeting and you'll feel immediately better. But do you think maybe having some peers who have experienced either the same or very similar route of pain that you're feeling Do you think that could be helpful, or do you think that would be a little more harmful for you?
Well, I think it would really depend. It's so hard to think about sitting, once a week or whatever it would be and talking about how I feel with people I don't know.
Of course.
And I feel, is it just people in that group,
No, actually, I completely understand why it would feel. There are some older adults in our group, but we have been working to create 2 separate groups. So we have the expected partner loss group. So it's you're aging and life is taking its process, and it's still difficult. There's still so much turmoil in your life because of it. Your life partner's left, but then we recognize that but unexpected loss takes a different toll on the body. It takes a different toll on the heart and the mind and just everything around you. And we see that you had those plans, and those in some way were cut from at least that life that you had envisioned. So right now they're still the same group. But we have been looking at ways and getting interest in providing the option for going to groups. So it'd be peers around your age, or just peers who have experienced unexpected loss of a partner, where it didn't seem like a foreseeable thing for many years. Is that something that might be helpful, or are we still a little concerned about that?
It might be. I just don't want to sit with a bunch of 90-year-old people and hear about how they lived for 90 years with their partner and how wonderful it was and now they're gone, because I didn't get to have that.
How do you feel about the fact that, I know you're angry that it was gone with the medical professionals, but how are you feeling about the specific fact that you didn't get to have that life that you had envisioned?
Feeling sad.
Yeah.
I had no time to prepare for the loss. I don't know if that would have helped or not. It might have helped. It might have just made it worse. I don't know.
When you say prepare, how do you mean prepare?
Like spent that time together that we had left, and started to process together that we weren't going to have a family and have the rest of our lives, and we didn't have that. We only had a couple of weeks where he got very sick and then passed very quickly.
Mm-hmm. So because I know you had said you continued to make these plans because you thought everything would be okay. Are there any of those plans that were in the near future that just, as the date approaches for whatever those plans were, is it getting harder, or maybe you're coming to terms, or are those bringing up more memories?
Well, it's really hard because we were trying to have a family, and that was immediate. I miss that. I miss, having somebody physically with me, and then I miss the idea that I was going to be a mother soon. There was nothing for us to believe that wasn't going to happen, and I wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to be a mom with Chris, and that's no longer possible.
I'm really sorry about that. So I know we've talked a lot about support groups and therapy, but is there anything specific that I can do to help you? Maybe I know cost can be a huge difficulty when it comes to planning or post services, just making it through. Any services that you feel might be beneficial, or maybe there's something in your life that you just don't know how to process. Maybe we can work through that.
Well, I'm not used to feeling this angry, so I think having someone to talk to would help. And then Scott is Chris's brother.
Okay.
He really wanted Chris to be cremated. Chris was an organ donor. So after having him cremated, now I'm left with this very physical reminder, and it's in the house, and I don't really know what to do with it. So I could use some help. My friends are all over the place on what I should do with it. They all have ideas, and I'm very confused, and I don't really feel like I want to keep it, but I need, I don't know, maybe somebody more neutral that might help me work through my options on that.
Yeah, so by physical, do you mean ashes or something else?
His ashes. And,
okay.
my friends came in and cleaned out a lot of his belongings, which actually felt very intrusive to me. I really wanted to do that myself,
Okay.
but I know they meant well. So I have the things of his that were important to me,
Mm-hmm.
but the ashes, they feel like such a morbid reminder for me
Mm-hmm.
of Chris and the way I want to remember him.
Definitely. So along the lines of maybe having someone to talk to, we actually are very fortunate, one of the few in the state. We have a grief specialist um, who's in our office twice a month, like 2 weeks out of the month. And I can try to set you up with him if you'd be comfortable. We can still meet and talk about all those options that you have. But Jeff's great. He has worked with countless versions of grief, and he's incredible. And we can, and if you want to, we can sign a release over, and I can have a discussion with him, and we can talk back and forth.
Okay.
Or you don't have to sign that release, and I keep what I know to me, and he keeps what he knows to him. But if you think that conversation between the two of us would be helpful, we can get that paperwork drafted up after this. It'll just say, I give permission for these two parts of my team to work. And we truly believe that helping someone heal from something is a team effort. So if down the road you're feeling, okay, this therapy is working, but it's not doing everything I need, we can look into having other parts of a team, whether some more in-depth therapy would be helpful. There are so many options that we can look into, and we want to make sure that you have these options and that you are able to take control of what's happening in the future. Because it sounds like a lot of the things, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like a lot of the things post his passing were very much dealt with for you. It sounds like maybe having some control over, where to keep his ashes or how to remember him the way you want to remember him. What are some of those ways that you'd like to remember him that you maybe don't feel like you can do right now?
Well, one of the suggestions was you can have the ashes made into something, or we could spread them, and I'm really torn between those two options. He loved being outside, so I've been thinking some days I think of the places that he liked to go and that would be nice, and then some days I feel like really extreme guilt at the idea that I'm supposed to keep the ashes in some way. So I'm really torn.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it's not an easy decision to make, and that decision is a long-term choice. So yeah, there's definitely the option to turn into something. We've had quite a few clients actually choose to do both, which may sound interesting, or I don't know what you didn't expect, but we have had some people do a spreading ceremony, wherever you feel most comfortable, giving that time. You said nature, so if there was a specific spot that you felt most connected to him, something like that. And it is a few towns over, but there is a glass shop that you can send the ashes to, and you choose the design, and you can meet with the glass worker, and they can create a really beautiful piece of art that you can have in general. But these are obviously decisions that you do not need to make today. When you leave, I'll give you a few flyers for both of the options. That way you can look through, and I imagine you might be thinking about cost. And it'll go over those things, and we can go over that as well. If you go back and you kind of just are very overwhelmed, completely understandable. We can come sit down, we can go over the options. Maybe you're like, this doesn't feel right at all, and we can just table that conversation for another time when you've processed more. So is there anything maybe that's adding more stress to this that it would be easier if that part of it didn't exist, that stress?
Well, a lot of my friends are really perplexed, I guess, by the idea that I'm so angry, and they don't seem to understand that part of who I am right now.
Of course.
And I guess maybe you or the grief counselor or something, if there's anything you can give me that I can show them. I feel like it's normal that I would be angry.
Of course.
But they seem to think I should just be crying all the time, and I don't feel like crying all the time. I feel angry sometimes, and then being told that that's not healthy is kind of stressful. On top of that, I feel like I'm being judged, and these are people I care about.
Of course. Yeah, I think that feeling, it's an experience that very few people can connect with. Most people have lost, parents or friends, but when it's a partner, it's a very different loss, especially with the unexpected losses you're experiencing. We definitely have plenty of flyers. We even have it's a support group for friends of friends who have lost partners or anyone really.
They would probably love that because they're sort of throwing their hands up and don't know what to do to help me, and I don't know what to tell them.
Well, of course, and I would never expect you to be, to handle this in a clinical manner. But I know exactly what I need because sometimes you don't know what you need. And that's okay. So they actually meet on Saturdays. It's pretty fun. We try to keep it lighthearted. We understand that grief is not a lighthearted topic, but a lot of friends do struggle with, they want to help this person they love so much. They just don't know how.
If they could just understand, like, what it feels, not what it feels like, but what it might look like, that would be so important to me.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I will give you the paperwork for that. It's not really paperwork, it's just kind of like a piece of paper that tells them. And I think that's an important group. We actually try to have people whose family and friends are going through like the process of getting to the grief stage. We have them come in. We just sit and talk to them. It's a fun way of kind of educating them about the psychology of grief. So if that's something that you would love for them to do, I think as people who care about you, we can definitely talk to them and explain like, hey, this could be a really beneficial thing. Or if you're comfortable having that conversation as well, I think that you saying to them, I know you want to help, and I appreciate that, and I see that, but sometimes it doesn't, and this will help you figure out ways to help me, or ways to ask if I need help.
Right.
So that sounds like it might be kind of helpful for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to make a note to get you those pamphlets on the support group for both you, if you choose to join that. And it's an open group, so you could go 1 week and say, okay, that was a lot of emotions, I need a break. And then maybe in a few weeks, you're like, I want to try it again.
Okay.
And you are allowed to bring people, so you don't have to go alone.
Okay.
So say one of your friends, you felt especially willing to let them as a part of your healing process. If you wanted them to be there,
Okay.
you can ask them, hey, would you come and support me? And we typically just ask that those participants are just supporters, and they're just there to kind of hold your hand if you need to leave the room, step out with you, things like that. But the role they play in your healing is completely up to you.
Okay.
And I want you to remember that. And we have, and you said you talked about starting a family. Does that sound like something you want to continue, or is it just right now not?
Well, right now, I wanted a family with Chris, so it's more, I think, dealing with the grief of not having that than thinking about moving forward yet.
Definitely, yeah. You're going to give all the time you need because grief has no time limit. And just know that grief comes in waves. So you might start feeling really good soon, and maybe you are comfortable going out with some of your friends, and maybe you get reminded of something. The holidays are coming up, and that can be difficult. Things like that. Do you have any concerns about the holidays coming up?
Yeah. I mean, he loved Christmas. He loved it. So just the idea of trying to drag out a tree and do that by myself, I just don't think I'm going to.
So you say by yourself. Do you think that if you had help doing it, like physical help, that would be good? Or do you think this year might be good just to take that time to yourself and just, reflect on what the memory is?
I think I'm just going to skip this year.
Yeah.
I don't really want even the people I care about, I don't want them pawing through the stuff that was ours and trying to tell me what I should get rid of or what's not important anymore, or that I have to do things a certain way. I'm feeling a lot of distance right now, even from the people I care about.
Yeah. When you say distance, can you give me like an example, or just kind of tell me a little more about what that would look like to you?
feel like I'm just very easily irritated,
Okay.
and they keep saying how they understand and that everything's fine and that I'm going to be okay, and it doesn't always feel that way.
Yeah.
So I guess just physical distance from people right now is part of what I'm going through.
Does that physical distance help, or does it make it harder with emotional distance?
It's easier because if I want to cry, I can cry. If I want to be angry, I can be angry, and I don't have to tell anybody about it,
Yeah.
and I don't have to talk about it. And I mean, they're there when I do want to talk about it, so that's enough for me.
Yeah, I think that's important. So I'm thinking, as we're starting to wrap up our session, I'll get you in touch with Jeff, and he can reach out to you if you're. Do you want? Is that something
That
you want
sounds
to do?
good.
Okay. So he's also in a few offices around this area. So if maybe this office time doesn't work for you, he'll figure it out. He's great about being flexible. So we'll definitely get you in touch with Jeff. Would you want to sign those release forms, or would we want to wait to see how your conversation with him goes and he can talk about that?
I think I'd rather meet him first and see how it goes.
Sure. Yeah, that's completely fine. And you said you want some flyers on how your friends can support you,
Yes,
and then about the option for the support group for yourself.
that sounds good.
Is there any other services that you might feel would benefit you at this time, or maybe other therapies or other approaches?
No, I don't think so. I think that's everything.
Okay, yeah. So maybe we can meet up in about 2 weeks. Just
Sounds
kind of check in, see what's going on, see how things are going.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. Good thing this allows me to cut, because